Hello, learning designers. Welcome to the Learning Design Summit. This is the platform where expert leaders from different phases of L&D come together to share their secret sauce so that all of us in the learning design community can learn from it and further our skills and career. Today, I'm very excited to have with us Nitin Thakur. Nitin heads the L&D function for Jindal Stainless. Nitin has more than 20 years of experience in sales and learning and development. He is a Harvard alumni. He has also an avid biker. He has taken bike rides straight to Ladakh three times already. He has co-authored a book on building career capital. And Nitin also is a TEDx speaker. So we have a very special speaker for all of you. Nitin, welcome to Learning Design Summit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was quite a warm welcome. Thanks, Itan. And
It's
so,
fine.
slides.
Okay. So I'm going to start off after that. So, Nitin, you are going to talk to us about accelerating L&D. Okay. Tell us a little bit about what is accelerating L&D and why should the L&D fraternity and the learning leaders of today take notice of what you're going to share.
Wonderful. Why should you listen to me? And the simple reason is that it is going to change your life and your organization's life. So another 20, 25 minutes is definitely going to be transformational. And you would be changing so many lives. And as I say, that learning professionals, learning and development professionals are like doctors and nurses. We do a noble job. So here I'm inspiring you for the noble job. So let me start talking about the accelerating L&D. So we definitely know and learn a lot of things how technology is changing the world. You know about micro learning, you know about learning platforms, you know about what are the trends. You keep reading about all these things. And I'm not going to talk about that today. So what I'm going to talk about today is that what are those core strategies that you have to opt out as an organization to accelerate learning and development in your organization. So as you see on the slide. So how's it happening? The slide goes somehow.
So, Nitin, I had put them away so that we could see more of you on the screen. And as you know, what I will do now is that I will say, okay, Nitin, very exciting. And let's jump straight to the slides.
Okay.
Okay. Very exciting, Nitin. I will invite you to walk us through your content. Tell us a little bit about how we can accelerate this L&D function in their own organizations. So tell us a little bit more.
Sure. So the strategies that I would recommend you to focus on, and I'll talk about more in details as I go forward. Number one that I want to tell you about is L&D your core strategy? When I ask you, is L&D your core organizational strategy? If your MD has big six strategies, is L&D one of them? And then I would a little bit speak about that how critical it is for you to grow your internal trainers and work of internal trainers. Third thing I would talk about that why you have to focus on career development. Don't focus on just learning. Career development will be the key in future, and that's where the world is going. And lastly, I would speak about that how can you make your L&D function more agile. And that will be necessary as we go with time, lesser and lesser openings that we have in the function, the cost impact, and how we can manage our functions without even hiring people. So let me begin with the first one where let's talk about that. Do you really have a learning and development as your core organizational strategy? Which basically means that your MD, CXOs, when their review happens, one of the core thing they ask each other is that how is L&D doing in your function? And why I'm saying so? Because it is critical. Seeing the change, seeing the speed of change, you can easily understand that every day there are new skills that are to be developed. There are times when we feel that an SBU is something that cannot sustain further, or probably there are employees we need to fire them. And in future that'll increase. You will have one or the other need coming, and you can't be hiring new people with new skills and firing old people. That's impossible. So the only way to live that is, instead of buying talent, you will create talent. If your people, your leaders are able to understand that I need to make a people strategy, I need to plan what will happen 2 years down the line, 2 years down the line, what kind of a manpower I need, what skills I need. So you'll start building up like that. So for example, if in my learning team, if I understand that analytics is going to be core, so one way is that after 1 year, I simply replace few resources and get some resources who know analytics. Or I can start building those analytics capability in my team from today, and maybe they'll be prepared in a year's time, and it'll be much better a resource for me. And that is the case scenario in every function. So that is the reason it has to be part of your organization core strategy, because your organization and every department needs to teach people and upskill people, and without that, the organization would not survive. So that's one point. Second point is that making learning and development part of your performance management system. One of the amazing thing I love about Jindal Stainless is that we have 15% weightage in the performance management for everybody for learning and development. So let's say if you are a people's manager, then how are you ensuring that your team is learning? How are you ensuring that you yourself is learning? And that would decide your 15% weightage. Your boss would give you ranking on that, on the basis of that. Why we are saying that is because unless you start monitoring something, it does not get implemented. So it is necessary to bring that change in the mind of people, bring that change in the mind of leaders. Because number of times we face leaders who would say, oh, learning, it's just another thing, it's just an investment of maybe entertainment, engagement. Acha, that we want to entertain employees or probably engage them, let's do a session for them. So that thought process to the thought process that we want in future, it's a transformation, it's a lot of change management. For that, it will be necessary to make it part of your performance management system. And the other part is that as you meet leaders as an L&D professional, you ask them. So let's say there's an HOD, you're meeting, you ask this HOD, ask them that what do they see in future? 2 years down the line, how do they see their people changing? What kind of skills will be required? Will they be adding more people? Will they be needing a little more lean team? What is that they're looking for in future? And then start asking them, how are they preparing their talent for that day? What are the things that we should start teaching them that we will be able to leverage with them that time when the change happens? So L&D being your core organization strategy is very, very critical. The second one that I want to talk about, the second one that I want to talk about is our internal trainers. So every organization has a lot of internal trainers, and very few organizations will actually track them, will keep an account of them, will continuously certify them, will monitor them. Very few organizations do that. So imagine if I tell you that your learning and development team might be of 3, 4, 5 people, but there are at least 100, trainers in the organization. You might be surprised. Now, how are there 100, trainers in the organization? There are that many trainers because there are trainings happening. There are trainings happening on SAP, there are training happening on EHS, there are training happening on other drills, probably some safety parameters. Maybe the HR is doing training, maybe some of the managers are doing training. So there are so many trainers, but they are not really being rewarded for the kind of work they are doing. And it is time for you to develop them, make them a one community in the organization. It will really help you improve the return on investment on your trainings. So for example, now I got my 100 trainers together. Now I'm teaching them. I'm telling them these are the standard practices. These are the best practices. I'm improving not only their capability to speak well and present well, it is also telling them how to take out the impact of the learning. So if you, let's say you've gone through a training of health and safety, now how does a trainer ensures to calculate the impact? If there's zero accidents or if there is nothing that has happened, that has saved a lot of money, a lot of compliance to the company. And that's where it'll give you an exceptional ROI of what you're doing already. Second thing that you're doing, you're giving a lifelong career to the people. So I go ahead and send an email to my organization, to HODs, ask them to nominate people who want to be a trainer. And we have a lot of behavioral subjects where people can become a trainer. And if they become a trainer, it is a career that they get. Number one, there's a lot of, I would say, repo that get built in the organization for them. Their network becomes better. They are more likely to get promoted, and they are more likely to get a better job. and they are more likely to become a consultant whenever they choose to retire. It's about giving a career, it's about changing their life, and you're doing it because they would be changing life of so many employees for you, because they will become the new change champions. So today I have trained 100 trainers and I'm doing regular sessions for them. I tell them that, hey, I want you to make our organization aware about posh. So how about if you start any training session, just talk about 2 3 minutes how critical it is, and they go and do it. So that's the power of communication and change that will be bought in by these internal trainers community. And it is to be built upon further, invested upon further, and it has to be one of your core strategy. And then you will be able to prosper your function well. Sorry, I need to stop. I think the order of the slide got changed somehow, but that's okay, I
Okay.
think. 1 minute. Okay. So I'll start with the ending statement.
Sure.
May I?
Yeah, of course, of course. Go ahead, sir.
So, being focused on your internal trainers is really going to make that impact in your organization, and it will be a rippling effect, like ripples in the pond. So something that you will do, and it will get duplicated at multiple levels, multiple location, multiple functions, and that's the power that you will generate in your organization. The next thing is that you got to be more agile as an L&D function. So it is natural story for maybe most of us in L&D that if we had any headcounts because of COVID, they got crashed out. Maybe we have to fire a few people from our team, become a more leaner function. But that's a blessing in disguise, I would say. Why? Because the time is changing. The gig workers economy is coming in. So gig workers economy is something that I've spoken about in my TEDx also, but I never ever imagined that will happen so fast. But now it's happening. Now gig workers is all about that you have a particular skill and there is a buyer of your skill. And that's what gives you the power to be able to work from anywhere and still be able to make your living in something what you like. You might be liking to write poetry, you might be a climber, you might be a singer, whatever you like, you can make your career in that. So being agile means here, as an L&D function, I can use a lot of gig workers. And I also need to teach agile project management to all my team members, as well as get more and more interns to be able to do on a very fixed 2 months, 3 months, small projects. And then they are working as a part of that agile team. Why L&D has to do it? Number one, you don't have resources, you don't have investment, you don't have a choice. There's a lot of work. That's why you have to do it. Secondly, if you do it, then only you can teach other functions how would they do it. Imagine a future holds that one of the things is the future is about people doing various projects at multiple in multiple departments in multiple functions. So a person might not be holding one designation, one function. A person might be in future working in various projects which are linked with different departments. In future, more and more agile workforce would be required, and that's how things will work. And if you as an L&D function is managing those agile teams, agile projects, then the business would need your help to establish the same structure for them. Maybe it is sales, maybe it is some other department. They would invite you to help them set up the same kind of, I would say, a setup of project management, and how you are really being able to create that value by giving such kind of very structured projects to people. So it's a complete win-win situation for all of us. And And lastly, I would like to speak about that we have to focus on career development, not on learning. Learning is not enough. Why focus on career development? Because there had been a huge problem in learning and development that we keep pushing ourselves on people. We follow up with them, we tell them to join the training session, do the pre work, do the post work. And if they come late or if they do not join the training session, we try to penalize them, and we get tired of follow ups, and nobody likes them. And we have to get over with that push approach. We have to start the pull approach. And the pull happens when somebody wants to learn something. Now the question is, why would anybody would like to learn anything? Anybody would like to learn anything when they're gaining something. And they can only, the person who can tell what is the gain they are looking for, what is the learning they are looking for, and it can be unique. So if I have 15,000 people in my organization, there can be 15,000 learning needs. What do? I can't even cater to them. So the only way to do it, make them self-sufficient. Build that learning agility in them, that they are curious to build their career. They are starting to follow that what is that will make their career better. And they are running behind you and they are running behind 20 other mediums to learn that particular thing. That will be a pull approach. So creating a learning center in in your own organization could be a good start. So imagine having a knowledge base is a very age old thing. I can remember maybe in sometime in 2003 or 4, I'd worked with AT&T and T and they had a knowledge base where everything was available. An employee can go and find out so many things to answer the customers. So a lot of companies have these knowledge base, but unfortunately they become a data point which too much of information and nobody has time to go there and find information, and many a times they don't find a relevant information. But having a learning center of new age would mean that having a dedicated page for every department, for every function. So if there are support functions, maybe 6, 8, 9, you have a dedicated page to them. And on dedicated page, you have a functional information. What does that particular function do? In addition to that, that function is also posting what project opportunities are there. So to give you an example, I have a lady who works in corporate communication and she's an engineer by qualification and experience of about 12 to 15 years. Now, if she wants to find an opportunity inside the organization, maybe she has to check what are the openings that are there on your internal portal and maybe talk to a few people. But that's not what the employee is looking for. Employee is looking for some solution that will be easy to fetch where they want to go. Now, because she's an engineer, you have a dedicated function which is probably doing that job. She goes into that function, finds out information, what are the jobs there, what kind of work that they do. And she says, oh, I might have worked 12 years in corporate communication, but I think I can do this job. At the end of the day, it is a project management. There's no rocket science in that. And I'm a qualified engineer. So why not I start to look my career in this stream? And now how to begin on that? You can go find out an opening, you can give an interview, select, not selected, an old way of doing things. An easier way of doing things is that fake it till you make it. So you make your development plan and you put up a project related to that engineering department where you want to go and do that project with that department, show them your work 3 months, 6 months, and if you're good, they will love to hire you. So you have a career opportunity inside the organization so much that you don't have to worry about retaining employees. Of course, there will be attrition, but at least you will be able to solve the career problem, which is not going to solve just by forcing people to get trained or just putting some internal postings. The only way to solve that problem is giving the options in their hand. And that's, I think, would be very, very helpful. So I spoke about the four things. The first one is that if L&D is not on the core strategy of your organization, you are not doing justice to your profession. You got to get to your management and speak about it and tell them that every function needs their L&D strategy. Number one. Number two, you have to build that internal trainers community, and they are your hands and legs, they are your people, and you will be able to multiply your effect. And the third one that I talked about is that you have to ensure that you are focusing on the career development and as well as you have the learning center. I'm sorry, I missed out. So the third thing that you have to remember is being agile. You yourself have to be agile, then only you will be able to make others. And finally, focus on career, not just forcing people to learn. Create a pull approach for yourself. So that's all that I had to tell you. And there's a lot that you have to think, there's a lot that you have to go back and do. And if you have any more questions, I would request you to please join our mastermind session and I will be able to address a lot of questions that you are getting in your mind. Thank you so much.
Nitin, very, very interesting, straight to the point. And I think the way you've delivered it is you've talked about the most impactful things that one can do to accelerate L&D. So, Nitin, tell us a little bit about your experience in having done this in different organizations as a learning head.
Sure. Where it started from was my old organization, Rockwell Automation, where I started as an India talent management head. Then I did Asia Pacific role and I did global role. So when I joined the organization, I realized that one of the program on people managers is delivered with two facilitators. One is a consultant and one is the internal business manager. And I studied that model. And that model was created for the purpose of ensuring that we have relevant business examples when the training is done with those two trainers. But I loved one thing about it is that all those people who were becoming internal trainers, we were losing them after the 2 years contract. They didn't want to work with us. And I was amazed that we gave them opportunity. They don't want to do trainings anymore. What's wrong? And I found out they were getting promoted. They were getting placed well. And their careers were growing up. Their network was brilliant. And I calculated that if we are spending, let's say, $500,000 on a particular program annually, and if we follow the model of developing internal trainers, we will save a lot of cost. At the end of the day, there are always some 7, 8, 10 modules that an organization will always continue to do. And the kind of size of population we have, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years to cover one program for the employees. And having internal trainers solve that problem. It solved the problem of the IP rights. It solved the problem of the cost of the trainers. It solved the problem of the customization, organization based examples. And I think there's a future to come where you would say that every people manager has to be a trainer. Because the speed of change is so fast. You have to change, you have to train people continuously on something new, and you cannot get away with it. So that's where the idea picked up, and we did some of the work in terms of ensuring that some of the programs we had pointed out that for these programs we will have our content, we'll have our trainers, we'll involve the consultant till the time we have enough trainers and the ball starts rolling. And that's how I would say that the focus on trainers came up. And here in Jindals, I realized that we have a very long list of trainers who does topics like metallurgy, trainings for crane operators, training on fire safety. There are endless subjects or trainings going on, and we realize it happens everywhere. So that's where it is coming from.
Makes sense, Nitin. And one of the things that kind of stands out for me personally is that with now the world going into the post-COVID area, a lot of the headcounts are under freeze. So L&D leaders who had headcounts accrued, who were to get headcounts in their teams, now none of that is happening for at least for some foreseeable time. Developing internal talent and to have them work as your ambassadors or your extended hands really solves that challenge beautifully in a way. And it's a double pronged strategy. Not only you get your work done and have more feet on ground to run your agenda, but people see opportunity in their own self development, and people become more convinced about the content that they are going to share. And because the trainer is from within them, so having the training internalized in a team becomes that much more easier in my view. So fantastic strategy. And I would say, Nitin, the way you are pegging on this strategy also makes sense, because with the resources drying up, with everything else now under constraint, this is a viable strategy. And here is a great way that you've shared that we can kind of achieve that. One other piece, Nitin, that you talked about is the gig economy and solving the career problem. So very interesting thoughts, very original, I would say, Nitin, where you said that, hey, I can find another job inside the organization. All I have to do is make some concentrated efforts towards that. And so, give us a little bit of sense, Nathan. What do you think is going to happen by the view of how much investment will companies carry on making in people's development journey in their career, or will companies shift their focus to looking at talent as a gig talent, that here is a job, here is the skills, let's match them, let's get the work done? So what is your view of what is going to happen to career development, talent management, and the rest?
Sure. So I think companies never had a choice about career development. We sometimes maybe turning a blind eye to that because the definition of engagement is about that I am able to focus on my goals, and while I'm running behind my goals, I am fulfilling organizational goals. That's when is the perfect engagement state. I would be running behind my goals, which is typically my career, my growth, my probably I want fame, I want power, whatever I need. So that's has always been there. And when you talk about gig workers, whether the organizations continue to invest on career development or go to gig workers, both would happen a lot. Because in every organization, we as L&D people, we do a lot of assessment of talent, that who are our high potentials, because one of the core investment that we do is on high potentials. About 60-70% of our budgets will invest on high potential for the purpose of succession planning. Cannot take a risk at succession planning. So organization will continue to build the careers of those who are very critical to them. For others, it will be optional. And employees will continue to leave the job and become a gig worker. Because with this COVID situation, people have realized, number one, that the happiness is and satisfaction is the most critical in life. So if I can go and sit on a mountain and work from a mountain, maybe earn a little less, why don't I live that satisfied and happy life? If I can probably make my hobby of motorcycling my profession and telling people how to go to Ladakh and what to do, where to do, and probably taking groups there, if that becomes my career, why would I do a job? So employees will become a gig worker and companies will try their best to invest on their careers, and it is a win-win situation. And somebody was talking to me that people are getting fired, and I said, with all due respect, and I understand every bit of a pain when you get fired, but I want to congratulate them, because if they wouldn't have got fired, they wouldn't have gotten to a new place where they might do a better job. They would have come in the firing list because they might not have been a best performer in the company. Otherwise, who fires the best performer? And the reason they're not the best performer is not because they don't have strength, because they were working in the wrong place. Maybe the boss wasn't right. Maybe the culture wasn't right. Maybe the subject they picked up wasn't right. They were at the wrong place. That's why they were not the top performer. Now that life has given them another chance to be at a place where they will be a top performer, because I haven't seen one person in my life who does not have strengths. Everybody has.
Perfect.
So it's a blessing in disguise for all of us.
Fantastic, fantastic, Nitin. Very, very inspiring, very positive outlook to what's happening. So, tell us a little bit, Nitin, for people who will join our mastermind. We're going to share with them how do you accelerate L&D. What are some type of questions that you, from your experience, will be able to help people with your advice? So, what are some challenges that one is likely to face? And we were talking about this slightly offline, that a lot of the times the L&D managers, once they go to their management, either for sponsorship or for endorsement or for partnerships or budgets or headcounts, they hit a wall. And that's in your view, is not because the company doesn't need, so is because a good business case hasn't been made. So are these the kind of the flavor of things that you will be able to help our fellow L&D fraternity people in the mastermind?
That's a very, very long problem of L&D, that we don't get budgets. And I don't see where's the problem. So every year in my previous company, I would get an email in April from finance saying that there is zero L&D budgets. And I would revert saying I've never asked for. And you don't need budgets actually. You don't need budgets is because uh, when you're trying to do something, you're trying to sell your idea, it might get approved, might not get approved. And then you say that I didn't get the budgets. Obviously, if I propose you 10 things, you might reject five, might accept five. That happens everywhere. But instead of doing that, what we need to do as an L&D, we have to solve a business problem. If, for example, if there's a sales function and my sales function says that my problem is that the customer that I was dealing with is changing. Earlier, I was dealing with the manager. Now I have to deal with the plant head. Now I have to deal with the MD. So the salespeople need executive presence. Now I know they have a problem. Now, if they want their problem to be solved, I can do it, but it takes money. So do you think will give me money? If their problem is genuine and their trust is genuine that I can solve their problem, trust me, they'll give me a lot of money. Number one. Number two, when we do all these trainings, one of the things that we miss out is that learning happens when somebody thinks and implements something. Learning does not happen. You put the best of the person talking there, that person can talk all their life and no learning would happen. So attaching live projects with your trainings is necessary. Don't do trainings for 2 days. Do a training for 1 year. Have a long program of 6 months, 1 year, have 3, 4 subjects, topics inserted into it, club some projects with it, and ensure those projects are quantifiable and are organizational priority. So you will be surprised that for one of the program we spent about 50 lakh, and barely by just 25% of the population has fetched us a business result of more than 20 crores. So was that 50 lakh really big amount? So if I promise you that kind of a return, then no budgets is not a problem. Problem is in our mind. We have to give a solution. We have to calculate the return on investment, a quantifiable return on what we've done, and things will happen. We need to change ourselves, and we've been doing wrong. The business was not doing wrong by saying no budgets. Trust me.
And then I would say a lot that can be learned from you. So I would, open this invitation to everyone who is in the fraternity and wants to get the same kind of positive energy like Nitin has, and understand what triggers him to feel and look at the world like that, and be able to push his case with that amount of veracity to be able to get exactly what he wants. So I will invite everyone to come and join in your mastermind, Nitin. And apart from just accelerating L&D, I think the topic should also it will have a fallout on how good a L&D professional you are going to become as a result of you implementing different strategies. Fantastic, Nitin. I think overall a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. And the way I look at it, very, very succinct, very to the point. You gave us 4 different ideas to work on to accelerate L&D. All of them are relevant as on day and time due to all the things that are happening to different organizations given COVID situation. And within each of these pillars, you've given us some workable strategies and some benefits of what each of these can deliver to the L&D team. Fantastic work, Nitin. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Fantastic, guys. So with that, we will close this session, and I'll invite all of you to join the mastermind session and get some one-on-one time with Nitin. Nitin heads the learning and development team at General Stainless, not a person whose calendar is free. So if you'd like to make use of this opportunity, feel free to sign up and be available. And pretty much anything you would like to ask within the theme of how do I accelerate L&D in my organization, Nitin will be happy to have a discussion with you. Perfect. So thank you so much, Nitin, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.